All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is what, the January 30th already. So, cooking through the month of January. Uh, I will probably skip the email portion in the beginning. We'll go right to tying with Jim. And if we have time, then I'll kind of discuss some things coming on. But it is kind of crazy that we're already through January. And so if you want to start getting out to the urban areas to go trout fishing, starting Thursday, February 1st, people are going to allowed to start keeping them. So all the parks like Coneman and Bush Wildlife, all those that were catch and release are open for catch and keep now. So they're going to be starting getting hit real quick. So this is probably the last good weekend you have because even though trout rules apply where you're allowed 4 a day, usually in the urban areas, they really don't know the rules and they show up with 5 gallon buckets and they're gone that first weekend. So, uh, last probably weekend for that, but it goes on through February. But after that, the pickings get slim. So, we'll talk more on that later, but I will hand this over to Jim. And then, as I said, afterward, we'll talk a little bit more on rod build and everything coming up. So, Jim, go ahead and take it.
Okay. So, excuse me. So I'm going to tie cicada tonight, and I've tied it before, but if you haven't heard, we're going to have a huge cicada hatch this summer. Brood 19 comes out every 13 years, and I remember back in 2011 when the last time it came out, they were everywhere and they were thick. And the fish love them, birds love them. They go to town. And so I started tying this pattern back in 2011. Craig Stevens from Hargrove showed me this pattern. So it's a really simple one. And I mean, I've been tying it ever since, whether we have a big hatch or we don't have a big hatch, it's a very effective fly. So like I say, there's actually two different broods that are hatching this year, and ours is a 13-year hatch, and then there's another one to the little northeast of us, which is 17-year hatch. And they're supposed to come out around the same time. I think it's sometime in April. And the last time these two hatched at the same year was like Thomas Jefferson was president. It's 211 years ago or something like that. And yeah, like I say, back in 2011 when we had the big hatch here. Not only were, I mean, they were so thick that there were news reports about being careful about driving out Manchester past 270 because there was so many cicadas on the road that there was concern that you'd lose traction on your car and get into accidents. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy. So, I mean, we have cicadas every single year. And the ones that we get during, like our annual cicadas, they're a little bit different. They're bigger. I got one of these. They're bigger than the cicadas, and you can see this guy is green. But the ones that are coming out in the big hatch, they are different. They're smaller, they're black and orange. I'm going to try. I've never done this before. Oh, I can't share the screen. Is that a problem? Oh, okay. Well, you're just going to have to take my word for it that
I can share this. Let me see. Oh, let me, no, picked up the wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I had a picture of the cicada that's coming out. But basically boils down to, it's got a black body, it's got orange wings, it's got orange legs and stuff like that.
You could
So
share
that's
now.
what we're trying to imitate with this pattern.
You could
Um,
share now if you want.
Oh, okay, let's see what we
Should
can
be
come
able
up.
to.
Yes. So this is what we're looking at. This guy right here. Can you guys see that?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Yes.
So yeah, you can see the orange wings and orange eyes, orange legs. But like I say, they're much smaller than the one that I just showed you. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. So like I say, I've been tying these things since 2011, whether, we have a big hatch or not, and they're very effective. And I also tie them in yellow, just simply because I've always had good luck with yellow poppers. But these cicadas, they're just a little foam bug. And these things, they fish about as good as poppers. And when it comes to fish in top water for bass, poppers are king. It doesn't get any better than that. But these will come pretty close to fishing those out, or keeping up with those. And while I was practicing, I thought, I tie everything else in purple. So thought, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot. So I tied that up today. And after looking at my cicada here, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I need to tie some in green too. But so anyway, for our material, I'm going to start with a size 6 natural bend hook. This is a Umpqua 203. But you don't need a natural bend hook. For years, I tied them on just a regular woolly booger streamer hook, 3X, 4X long streamer hook. Those work just fine. For the body, I use 2mm foam. And, I buy these little squares at the fly shop. But, you can get big squares at your hobby shops and stuff like that. And I just cut it into like 3/8 inch strip. So one handy little thing I came across from the dollar store, where everything costs $1.25, was this little mat here. And I use this for cutting my foam. It's got these handy, like inch marks here. And I just set this under the inch mark, and then I take my rule, and every 3/8 of an inch, I'll take my single edge razor blade and just cut strips. So that's pretty handy. So that's the body. The underbody is orange sparkle braid. The wings are orange crystal flash. So here's the crystal flash. That's the container it was in. Hot orange, not just regular orange, hot orange. For the legs, I am using black saddle hackle. But I've tied, I use black saddle hackle because I have it, but I've tied in grizzly and olive grizzly. If you have saddle hackle, I wouldn't, if you didn't have black, don't go out and buy one. Just use whatever you got. I don't think it makes a big difference. Let me pick one of these feathers off here. And for legs, I use live rubber. It comes in the long strips like this. And what I do is I'll cut off about 2-inch strip here, cut it all the way across. I'll work with that. I use some of the Solar Res Bone Dry UV glue. And I think that's it. So let's get a close-up here. So this is what we're looking at. You know, it's just a very simple foam body. And like I say, it's very quick to tie. Let's see, get that back over here. So I'm going to start with my hook and the vise. And so for thread, I use the Unithread 6/0. That's what I'm using tonight. But honestly, if I had my choice, I would rather probably use the Ultra Thread, the 140 denier, just simply because the Ultra Thread, it'll flatten out. But this pretty much stays corded. But you know, and when you're working with foam, if it flattens out, there's going to be less chance of you cutting into the foam and stuff like that. So, like I say, if I had the Ultra Thread, I would be using that, but I don't. So I'm going to just continue on with the Unithread here. Get it started probably somewhere between 1/4 to 1/3 the way back down the shank. I take my strip and I cut a point on the end for tie-in point. So that's really all you need is a little bit of tie-in point. Going to bring the thread back down to just before the bend of the hook. I'm going to tie it in. I'm going to use loose wraps. And you notice I have the foam on my side of the hook. And the reason I do that is this foam wants to roll around the hook. And that's going to be fighting me for this entire process, but so I favor it on my side of the hook just to kind of minimize the amount of it rolling. So I kind of spiral wrap down the bend of the hook. And honestly, even if I am using a streamer hook, I will tie just past the bend here. So it's kind of a loose spiral wrap. Now I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to hold everything into place, and then I'm going to come back down. I'm going to crank down on all that, bring it nice and tight. And then I have my hackle feather. I'm going to strip off some of the fibers, again for a tie-in point. And as far as whether you want to tie it with the shiny side facing you or the dull side facing you, I don't think it makes any difference. So I don't even pay attention to it. I don't believe that this hackle actually does much as far as the floatability of the fly. It's foam. The foam floats. So, you know, how the hackle feather is faced, I don't think really matters. Now I'm going to tie in the braid, crystal braid, purple braid, I guess it's called. And again, all the way down. And then I'm going to bring the thread back to the original tie-in. I'm going to give it a half hitch. You'll see me doing that pretty often because the thread has a tendency to want to jump. And I I really want to keep track of that tie-in point, so I'll be throwing those half hitches in every once in a while. And then I'm going to take the sparkle braid, and I'm going to wrap it forward. And just like when you're tying a woolly booger, it's like the chenille. You do nice tight wraps. Every wrap touches the one behind it. You want to cover the entire shank. Tie it off. Cut off the excess. Couple of wraps just to clean things up a little bit. And then we're going to wrap the hackle forward. And again, just like a woolly booger, we do it Palmer style, a spiral wrap. And you can make it full so that the wraps are tight and close together, or you can make it sparse. And again, it's just kind of personal preference. Whatever looks good to you and whatever you think will help you catch fish. Tie that off. Cut off the excess. Couple of wraps. And then a half hitch. Now I'm going to bring the foam forward. You know, in the past, I've tried things like I'll take my scissors and I'll cut the top off, thinking that this is going to seat better. I've tried putting glue down here to hold it on top and stuff like that. None of that stuff seems to make any difference for me. So I've given up on those ideas. So I just pull it forward and then I fold it over the hook itself. So I got it pinched tight so it's sitting over the hook, and then do a couple of basically loose wraps. And then I lift it up and I'll do a couple of tight wraps right around the hook. And again, that's just a technique to help minimize the foam from rolling. So now I'm going to go back about an 1/8 inch behind my original wrap. I'm going to do another wrap. So I actually have 2 separate wraps here. Now I'm going back to the first wrap. I'm going to leave that in there. Then I'm going to take my crystal flash and I'll take a few strands of that. I don't know, 7, 8, 10. Looks good. Cut it. Then I'm going to take the whole thing and I'm going to fold it in half. Fold it in half here. And then I'm going to cut it in half. Then I am going to tie this in pretty much at the half point here. So I'm going to tie it in to the front wrap that I had there. And again, like I say, you don't want to pull this thread too tight because you don't want to cut into the foam. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to the second wrap in the back there. Do that twice. And then I'm gonna fold all of this stuff back. Hold it all together. And this is why I have that second wrap. That's going to hold all of that, all those fibers back. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and cut the wing. I usually cut it somewhere between 3/8 of an inch to a ½ inch behind the body itself. Although that's not critical, just whatever you think looks good. And then I'm going to fold the front back. So I leave a little bit hanging out over the eye, if you can see that. So it's just a little bit beyond the eye here. And again, I'm going to pinch that foam down, do some fairly loose wraps back on that second wrap, and then again, I'm going to do it on the front wrap too. And at this point, I'm going to cut this off. So I try to cut it off usually somewhere halfway between these wraps and the tail. And then I'm going to get out my live rubber. So what I do is I take my bodkin and I pull off 2 double pieces. So you can see that is two pieces of live rubber right there. I don't know if you can tell that from that picture. And I'm going to do the same for another piece, just like that. Then I'm going to tie those in, one on each side. Tie the one on my side in. Now I'm using the front wrap right now. Then I'm going to tie the one on your side. Couple of wraps there. And then I'm going to go back and hit that back wrap there. And then at this point, I just kind of fill in between those wraps. And it's basically, I'm making a band here. Once I have the band filled in, I'm going to lift the head up. I am going to tie that off on the hook itself. Like I say, I got to keep coaxing that back to the top because it does like to roll. Although I've never had a fish refuse because it was a little cattywampus. And then I'm going to get out my whip finishing tool. I'm going to do a whip finish on the hook itself. In the past, I have done that whip finish actually on the fly itself, right where we have these other wraps. And that seemed to work all right, but somehow I have more confidence when it's tied off on the hook itself. So now it's time to make any adjustments. So I pretty much like what those legs look like. I like the front leg to be a little shorter than the back leg. And I like what I aim for is that rubber to be right in between the top and bottom layer. That's where I want it to sit. So now I can make any kind of adjustment. I can, you know, I can make the front leg shorter, I can make it longer, I can bring it higher up on the body, I can bring it lower on the body, I can make all kinds of adjustments right now. But I kind of like the way it's looking, so I'm not going to make any adjustments. Now I'm going to get out my UV glue. I'm going to glue the bottom of the wraps here. I'm going to glue on the head. And I'm also going to put a little drop of glue right where the wraps meet the legs here. That with the light. And then I'm going to take my bodkin again, and I'm going to split those pieces of rubber apart.
Aren't you concerned that the fish will be able to count the legs?
Well, see, the thing of it is in reality, these do not look like cicada legs. They look like grasshopper legs.
Yeah.
But you know what? The fish didn't seem to care. So honestly, you know, when I throw these on the water, do I think the fish look and say, "Hey, there's a cicada. Let's go get that"? I don't know what they're thinking, but it's kind of like throwing a piece of string in front of a cat. I don't know what the cat's thinking, but he goes after it every single time. So all I know is it works. So, like I say, very easy fly to tie. And, you know, like I say, you can tie those, knock those out in less than 10 minutes. And I mean, you know, when I'm tying my poppers and I make tons of those things, I could spend half hour, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending on where, you know, where I start with the whole process. So, you know, I can tie a dozen of these in the same amount of time that it takes to tie one popper. So,
I think you ought to call it the Jimmy Dickens cicada, you know. I mean, the black ones are smaller, but they're probably loud, you know.
yeah, there you go.
Nice looking fly, Jimmy.
And it was very nice.
Yeah.
And I don't think the number of legs matter because I can't count, and if I can't count, the trout can't count.
Well, no more often than cicadas hatch. I think we're fine.
Yeah. I heard some parts of the country is going to get 2 hatches this year, just
Yeah.
how the numbers worked out. So, but it sounds like St. Louis, we're just going to get the blacker ones, and that's it. But that's still a good pattern because cicadas are big, meaty bugs, and they can't bite. And you see birds chase them, and cats eat them, and fish eat them. It seems like everything eats these things. So it's a good pattern to have.
Yeah. But like I say, just remembering that 2011 hatch, it was crazy around here. If you were around here, you'll remember it. It was wild.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it come this summer because I'm next to a subdivision that has a lot of lakes, and I know they stock it with bass. I think that'll be a fun time. So,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, something that I was follow along with Jim just as an idea here. You know, Jim is really good about presenting ideas of alternatives, like what if you don't have something. And I was playing with this a little bit, and I remembered a trick that I saw here on Fly Fish Food. They're like, if you don't have the right chenille and you've got crystal flash, you can do a dubbing loop. And so if you do a dubbing loop with this crystal flash, you can make your own, your own chenille, so to speak. You could do something different. So it's a good way to, it's an alternative on what you're doing here. So it's like, so what I did was I made just a crystal flash, and I made a dubbing loop and wrapped it and put it over. And it's not as good as Jim's, but it's something that will suffice and do the same thing as if you're trying to do it. So if you learn how to do a dubbing loop, in a sense, the crystal flash is a really good thing to do that with, because that stuff can be a booger to really try to to get it to dub on right. So just throw that out for what it's worth. So
That's cool. Yeah, I've never would have thought of that before, but I've used I've used floss, and I've used all kinds of underbody materials. So it's just, like I say, I tend to go for that crystal, that whatever, that sparkle braid. But if I don't have that, that doesn't slow me down for a second. You can just tie just about anything on there.
yeah, the fun thing, and Mick talks about this too. The fun thing is just like, what other ways can I use the materials I have to replace something that I don't have? That's just part of the gig sometimes, and it makes it fun. It's like, oh, I got away with that one. That one should work just fine. So just throw that out.
I've used organza in a dubbing loop, organza in a dubbing loop, and then you mix in just a little bit of regular fine dubbing, and then you twist it into the dubbing loop, and it makes a nice, bright, spiky body. And you've got like black chartreuses and a whole bunch of other colors, and it's small, thin, and it's got different variations to the pattern. Does it make sense? So it sparkles, and then it doesn't sparkle in other places. You can make it into tails, but I found it makes a nice little fuzzy body.
Yeah, that's a neat idea. Yeah, you bet.
And I got them on a phone, but I did a kind of a takeoff of one of Al's clodhoppers with it, where I did, organza, underneath the underbelly of his thunderclod.
The one, when Carl started talking and saying that he had a little trick, I thought what you were going to do, which I still think is really cool, is how you make the variegated legs. You had shown us how to do that, where you take one of the legs and you spin it, and then you take a Sharpie and draw one line down the leg while it's spun, and when you release it, it actually has a swirl to it. And that was pretty cool. So if you look at some of the pictures that I put out there, a lot of them had the variegated legs, and if you didn't want to try to color them that way, it was kind of a neat little trick that Carl showed earlier on the fly.
Yeah, I picked that up actually kind of at the fly fishing show in Atlanta, and I had some of this, just sewing elastic rubber band stuff that I don't know. I think this was actually my mother's, and she's been dead for over 20 years. That I got it, and I looked at it and I go, I probably could use that for something. But when I was at the Atlanta fly fishing show, this guy was like, I'm going to show you a trick, and you will never buy expensive variegated legs ever again. And I'm like, what? So he had this white rubber band kind of stuff, just like I had. And he pulled out a strip and he tied it on just like he wanted. Then he got the legs the length that he wanted. Then he just twisted it with his finger, and then just took a black marker over the top of it, ran it once and down on each side, and let it go, and boom, there you go. So does the same effect. It's a way to do something a little less expensive, and get the same effect.
Frugal fly fisherman always works.
I'm frugal, that's for sure.
I think we all are. I mean, I went grocery shopping over the weekend to help one of our daughters, and I didn't think it was going to be $500, but it was $500. So with
Wow.
prices of food and all that, try to find different things you could use for fly tying material. So the only thing that I'll add to it, I mean, both, that's a beautiful fly, both of them, even Carl, what you were tying along. What you might want to do is once you're done is put some kind of floating on it. If you have the time to go overnight, this watershed works really good. It's a permanent floating to it, but you do have to put it on beforehand, and they say 24 hours. So do it the day before, and that's gonna work really well. And because some of those foam materials will start soaking up some of that water, and not that it's too bad. Usually just give a good squeeze and the water comes out, or you'll be fine. So is that me that raised my hand? Strange. Okay, so I was like, oh, somebody was adding to it, but I must have clicked by accident. So that's just one more thing to add. And then again, for any of your dry flies, that works well too. So any questions on that? If not, I'll kind of get through the email real quick.
Hey, Mick.
Sir.
Yeah, before that, something that came up last year that we did not get to do as a group was because the fly rod building class ended up getting moved to March last year because we couldn't get it scheduled for February.
Yep.
I am entertaining the idea of trying to get a group together, if interested, to go down to the Salbug Roundup this year, which is March 21st, I think, through the 23rd. And oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
Got legs and everything on that.
Yep.
So I don't know if Healing Waters is going to have anything down there this year, that they're going to have a table, but I really, really, really want to go to that. I haven't been to the Salbug probably since 2004. So it's probably been 20 years since I've been down there. I mean, so just throw that out there as an idea. If there was wanting to be a group effort to go down, maybe we could split rooms and gas and that sort of thing, if interested, to do that. So that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. And then the other thing was, I mentioned to you yesterday when we were down there, I would like to entertain the idea of trying to do some sort of a fundraiser. We could do it several ways. Would be willing to build a rod, for some sort of a raffle or something, to raise money towards it. But what I'd like to do is try to make to do the same thing we did down in Birmingham. Was we'd had talked to the regional manager for Lowe's, and they brought up an idea that one of the guys did about one of these tool benches that had sliding drawers and everything. And it might be really it would be a little nicer organizing wise when we're tying down a JB, to have all of our materials kind of just set out there, and you know where the feathers are, and you know where the hackle is, and you know where the beads are, and just different parts that we use to do something like that. So I'd be willing to try to kind of spearhead that. I looked at some at Lowe's, and they were pretty pricey. They were about $1,800, but I think if we reached out to certain people and had a goal in mind of what we were trying to do, maybe we could probably get some donations for it, maybe do a raffle for it on a rod. Just throwing it out there, Mick. I don't want to steal your thunder because I'm probably taking your time away from you, but I wanted to throw that out there.
Check Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. you can get those kinds of toolboxes pretty inexpensively. I bought a bunch of Fat Maxes not too long ago that are portable. And that's what I
Okay.
carry with me when I tie. I put all my fly tying stuff in it. It's got enough room for everything I need for 1 or 2 classes. And I just throw it in the back of the truck and take off. So Craigslist will do it, and so will Facebook Marketplace. You know, I mean, they're a great place to get used stuff that's in really good shape. And don't be afraid of looking at something that's 30, 40 years old. You know, a Kennedy toolbox on wheels is a great toolbox. And it's worth a lot of money, and you can usually pick them up for 30, 40 bucks without any problem at all. So
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of materials, and I think one of the things since I've been down there is just kind of the time it takes to, okay, everything's out. Where is everything? What do you want to tie with an individual? Okay, where can I go find that very quick and, you know, get the materials and then go have it ready to go, you know? So,
Who makes these toolboxes?
Any of them. Yeah, you see like Craftsman and Call
Oh, you're
Buckets.
talking about, okay.
toolboxes.
Yeah,
I'm
big
talking
tool.
about, I don't mean to, I know Amy's on, I don't mean to make this sexist, but a man's toolbox.
You
I ain't
all have
touching
seen
that
my,
one.
Gonna be like, right.
like, you guys have seen my fly tying room. I'm up in the
Boy.
office right now, but you've seen that, so bring it on.
That's a little sexist there, my friend.
Amy, I know you wanted to talk a little bit to it or not, but yeah, it's something that we could look into.
Yeah, just
I've seen Snap-on. I've seen the $5,000 Snap-on toolboxes in pink. So hey, come on, guys.
Well, so there's a couple different things, and I chatted Mick over on the side. I'm like, I just jumped on for a volunteer and fly tying, and I did something today on ours on staff side, and it was just, it's lunchtime learning, right? And so I just drop it on the calendar, and staff is able to jump on, and we tied a couple flies for about 40 minutes. I don't know what they were eating. It smelled good. I couldn't even smell anything. It's all virtual, right? And I'm like, dang, and I'm tying flies. I love teaching. I think you guys know that from that side of it. These questions on here, Carl, going back to Sowbug, let's start there. So Sowbug does have an opportunity for you guys to go. Now, it's not set up necessarily on a national side with the regional, but you could go down there. There's a lot of different opportunities for cheap stay, a couple different opportunities. I would encourage that, but now that we have a program right there in Cotter or Mountain Home, partner with them, kind of, go down there, be part of that. Frank Suspenzi is the deputy regional coordinator, kind of covers that area, is kind of very quiet guy, but he's part of the Sowbug group. So he sets up all the vendors. And there will be a Project Healing Waters table that was budgeted for. If you can get down there, great. It was not budgeted as a necessarily a regional, like everybody throw in. But if you can get down there, people will house you, and we can figure out some different ways from that. So going to the next part on fundraising and building these rods. So a lot of rod building is happening right now, and we have some phenomenal builders, right? Stuff that you look at and you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, do you want to hold it over and do some things? We can absolutely do that. I would suggest, as far as we'll connect you with the fundraising group and basically set that up. There's a couple ways you can basically do an online auction, sell tickets. We can get you going on that direction, and everything you earn in for the Heartland and or St. Louis, it does stay here. I want to beat that myth down to the ground right now. It stays here, and you get credit for it. What you're doing is you're becoming self-sufficient. You're paying it all. So anything like that, the toolkits and things like that, what I'd like to suggest out, and I know we have a few folks who love social media. They love to be on the interweb. And one of my projects right now, and we are right there at the finish line with this, but it's a Project Healing Waters marketplace. So those of you who have been on social media know what buy sell trade is, right? We're doing that internally, meaning it's all our stuff. We had Chris Matson down in Atlanta who got 100 rod blanks donated to him. John, who's on with Omaha, and he helped out the guys in West Virginia. I have rod blanks. So what I'm going to do is I'm brokering that, and we're creating this Facebook marketplace, but it's private, only to Project Healing Waters. So let's get rid of the books. Let's get rid of the 10,000 beads we have and everything else and trade for something else. So kind of cool on that side, but we have some great things coming on that. Anybody who loves that side of it and wants to help on the admin, meaning you're going to get the pictures in of what programs have to clear out. This can be 12 pounds of marabou, right? Not sorting. You're not managing the product. You're managing the picture. And then you would upload it as admin on a social media platform. And then the buy, sell, trade part of it comes in. The program getting rid of it doesn't cost them anything. The program receiving is the one who pays the shipping. To give an example, I just shipped a whole bunch of stuff from Wisconsin out to Colorado. The bill was $500. The receiving is the one who paid it, not the program getting rid of it. It's a great way to turn some of that stuff that we're all sitting on. The donor's request always is just that it went to good hands, that it didn't sit in our basements. So kind of excited about that. That's a couple different things that are coming from the staff side of it. If anybody has any questions, happy to take those now.
Cool.
So, Amy, you're saying if I raise money here in Omaha, it can stay in Omaha? Is that what I heard you say?
You get credit that it went to Omaha, and what you're doing is paying your note, Bill. So your program in Omaha, you have 30 people, right? And we subsidize that. So
Right.
if your note is $15,000 and you raise $10,000, you've just paid off $10,000 of that $15,000 note.
Sure.
What I mean by that is because if you didn't raise a dime, we've still committed that we are subsidizing your program.
Right.
Got it?
Yeah, I've been holding off. That's why.
No, it stays in
just-
your program because you're supporting your local program.
And we've been holding off, Amy, because we're not sure we can spend it all locally, and our donors are telling us they want it spent here locally. That puts us into a hell of a bind, because if I can't spend it locally, they're not going to donate. And, I mean, so I've told everybody to we've got enough right now to support everything that we budgeted for. And I would love to raise more money and send it to national if I thought my donors wouldn't balk at that. You know what I'm saying?
So send what doesn't have to stay there locally, John, right? Send if somebody's like rising tides lift all ships. We've talked about it for over a year.
Yeah.
But with I want to support only my program, doesn't that go a little bit?
No, that's
Right.
not the
No,
issue.
no.
I don't think, Amy.
Right.
I don't think that's the issue. I think
They
the
wanna
issue
see
is
the
what the donors
benefit.
want to do.
They want to see the benefits within your community.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what you're doing is, because if you didn't raise a dime, you would have still been covered on the national side.
Yep.
So anything that comes into Omaha is credited to Omaha. It stays there. It just
Oh, no. I think you
Yep.
misunderstand. I understand that completely. But at the end of the year, when I go back to my donors and I say, okay, we spent this much money and we went to here and we went here and we went here and we bought these rods and we built these rods and here's the pictures and here's the video and everything. And they say, yeah, but we gave you 15, you only spent 10. Where's the other 5? I went
Yeah.
to national so we could support other programs so that they could do their things. That's, I have no problems with that personally. I'm just not sure that my donors are going to be willing to do that. So,
And I think that's one of the things where, you know, again, from a different level on that, I get it. I
Yeah.
totally do. We've talked about this many, many times. From a donor aspect of it, yes, it's staying. You're paying, you're doing all of these different things. When you look at, were you able to, so how many folks are you putting up for national destination trips, John, from Omaha?
Everybody I can put up as soon all the people that say they want to go, their names are going forward.
So why
I
doesn't
haven't
that
got their names yet
count?
though. I've only got 2 people signed up so far. See, there's the
Right.
issue.
But why doesn't that count?
Oh, it does. Oh yeah, I plan on showing them. Oh, absolutely, it counts. Yeah, yeah.
So and that's the other part. And when we look at the casting competition, when we look at other things we're able to offer, so it is there on that. And when you can send anybody from Omaha and or Nebraska, so your money is going for that person.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'll talk to you later this week, and I can.
I'm
and
sure we will.
I'll turn my my fundraiser loose on the rest of Omaha and let him go raise another $100,000 for the program. We'll see what we can do.
Bring it, Bill. Bring it. Yeah, like turn him loose, will you?
Bring it in, Bill. Go for it. You heard it right here.
Actually, we actually have 2 that can help. So we picked up another person that can help us, but we got some ideas. We've got Cabela's that will probably allow us to be there for an appreciation day. So I'm going to do that. You know, just tie flies there and see what we pick up, both for veterans. We're looking at the PX. We're all
Nick,
sorts of ideas.
Nick, I apologize for hijack.
Yeah.
Nick, I apologize for hijacking your Zoom meeting. We'll shut up
you guys off. It's no, it was good discussion, but I do want to finish up. I got 5 minutes until the St. Louis program stuff is over. So, but I do appreciate it because at least volunteers and participants in St. Louis kind of see how the funding's going on and all that. So that's good.
Join us Thursday night. We'll continue the discussion Thursday night.
And in St. Louis, though, I get people, you know, friends that were like, here, can you use this chair? And it might be, it's like, no, but I could sell it on, you know, Facebook or something, and I'll take that cash, throw it to the side. And I really like what Carl says. That's what I want to go, a big toolbox where we label it, where it's a whole lot easier instead of just going through stuff.
Absolutely.
So Carl that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm saving. Someone gives me something, I'm just throwing that cash in there to buy a big toolbox for us.
And I'll get on Facebook, and you know, maybe and John brought up a good point. Maybe there's some alternatives to maybe buy a used one cheaper. You know, very, very much, very, very possible.
Yeah,
So,
and even the Harbor Freight ones work too. So
yeah, I mean, let's just, the idea is thrown out. Is all I was trying.
All right.
And I love that. And one of the things I would also say, again, going back to the rod building part of it, because we have so many just beautiful rods coming out. If you're interested and you want to carry that and all of a sudden say, nope, let's hold these as a region, as a program, whatever you want to do. We want to hold these, and we want to do an online, which is much more effective. Doesn't take as much time as the in-person fundraising. And another thing too is for the St. Louis area, the fly fishers at the crossing. So their dinner is February 28th. They're always looking for stuff on that side. So if we can donate something in, and then they donate it back. So that's something where, you know, again, there's opportunities out there, but if you work together as a group, it's easier to put it together, because it's not something of going, oh, well, I have a pencil and I want to go sell it. And you're having to do all this work. So if we even have a combined list, there's ways to do this very effectively, and happy to help on that.
Yep. And I'm already in touch with Dan Blanton from Fishers at the Crossing. So this Sunday, we're doing a tie-in event. People are going to throw flies my way, and I've got a ton anyway. We're going to fill up boxes and get that out to them, and then that'll help us out as well. And so that's already in the works. So let me get through the email real quick. Winter trout, urban fishing, still going on, but February 1st is this Thursday. So people are going to start taking those out of the lake. since it is urban, a lot of them don't know the fishing regulations, so by the 1st this weekend, they're gonna be probably going out by the 5-gallon bucket full. So if you want to get out there, try to get out there, fish those. We're pretty much busy all of February because on Saturdays through February, we have rod building. We've already reached out to all those participants. Everything's ready to go. Frank, we will see you this Sunday at the American Legion for the tying.
Yep.
We still meet Jefferson Barracks on Mondays. So we're there from 6 to 7, building 54. We usually try to get there by 5:30 to set up. I think Ken said yesterday that since we've been able to get back to JB, we're at 84 participants from JB have gone through our classes. So that's turning out really well. Kurt's very happy with us. Again, American Legion, the 4th from 10 to 1. Bring your own equipment, but I'll still have a lot of stuff as well. And then we'll probably hit breakfast at Uncle Bill's if you want to go early, around 8 a.m.
Give me a count, Mick, when you can.
Will do. Fly rod building, as I said, this is going to be every Saturdays in February. We're good to go on that. We got all our equipment. Tuesdays, we're still doing our Zoom meetings, and there's a lot going on in March. Stylebug is one of them. I'm looking as well. The national trips are coming out. So for us, Freedom Ranch is 6th through 10th August. That's for Heartland. And so if you guys are interested in that, let me know, and I could start getting with Mike Swanson on that. Oak Lodge is April 30th through May 4th. Again, this is getting really close. If you're interested in that one, we have to have nominations by March. So
Yeah, and you'd be right at the tail end of steelhead season, I believe.
yes,
Is that right?
I think so. So we got those going on. If you're interested, let me know. Maybe that's all I had. One real quick last thing to go over. We have a lot of new people coming in and everything. Our program events and everything, whether it's tying at American Legions or, at the JB, or if we do fishing trips and all that, alcohol and marijuana, drugs, and all that stuff are not part of our program. So to make sure, just to double check, we have a lot of new people, even though fishing and drinking sometimes go along, not with our program. So ensure, you're not bringing any alcohol to our meetings. Same with if you recreation, marijuana, that's not allowed at our program. So if you see anyone doing that stuff or they smell of marijuana or alcohol, please let me know so I could have a talk with those individuals. Again, that's not what we do. And again, this is a shout out to all. A lot of people I'm looking at right now are our volunteers that are around that. So if you see something, say something so I could address it. I really don't want to give us a bad reputation if someone's smelling like alcohol or something. So that's all I got to do. I just want to bring that up one last, I haven't talked about that in a while. So, okay, 7 o'clock, we're done. What fly do you guys want to see next Tuesday? Does anyone want to tie? I know we had Jim tonight. So, okay, cool. Carl's got his hand up. That helps me. So
Tell me what you want, otherwise I'll pick it.
all right, I'll try to come up with something.
Give me something challenging, but challenging but useful with just about anything you would have.
You want a real challenge?
Uh-oh.
Give me a challenge. I'll take it.
Okay, just a second.
Oh, you got to Google it?
Nope.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Two
I
questions.
want you to tie the radar nymph.
The radar nymph?
The radar nymph. Yes, it is a fly.
Nobody uses, John, nobody uses nymphs. Come on.
Only 90% of the free world.
Yep.
Dry fly or die.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, you people with dry flies, you're just, yeah, it's called the radar nymph, black hare's ear, radar nymph black, or radar nymph olive.
All right.
I
I'll
got it.
You want to, here, let me show you what it looks like, guys.
go for
Okay.
it.
There it is, right there.
I don't see it yet. Are you sharing?
No, you're not. Oh, wait a minute. Helps if I, yeah, just a second.
Because I have
Wrong
it.
screen. There we go.
All right, hold on. Let me spotlight you and point it out. Which one?
These two right here,
At the top?
right there. See where my finger is?
Oh, okay.
Okay, I
Does
got
that
it.
not look like a radar screen?
Yeah, it does. What is that? Like a sequence or something?
It's exactly what it is. It's a sequence.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to
That's
read my
fine.
kids.
Fly patterns of the Umpqua feather merchants, guys.
All right. I'm pretty sure I can find it on YouTube. YouTube's got everything. I'll figure
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll figure it
Yeah.
out, and I'll tie that next week.
I'll
I was gonna
probably
say,
tie along
the-
with you.
Either
Okay.
that or everybody start sending Carl all your sequins. That would be a pretty funny envelope to open.
I sent that to Al Beatty and he'd never heard of it before. So we'll see what
Wow.
happens.
All right. So, all right, we're 2 minutes past. I don't want to hold you guys up. You guys have my number. You guys have email. You have several ways to get a hold of me. If there's anything you guys need, please let me know. February is going to be a busy month. Basically, rod building every Saturday during the month. First, it's going to be a Saturday build and a Sunday fly tie at American Legion. We possibly might think about trying to go fishing, but we'll see. But a lot of cool opportunities coming up this year, so hang on. We'll have a good time. So,
Hey,
at that,
Nick,
sir,
I've got a question for Amy.
cool.
Amy, do we have any literature to hand out? I only think I got a couple pieces left of the with the old stuff on it. That's it. As I've been handing it out.
So I'll tell you what, Bill. I'm a volunteer with St. Louis. You want to hit me on this stuff? Call me on the work line. We absolutely.
I don't have your work number, kiddo.
I'll take care of it, Bill. I'll take care of
Okay,
it.
that's
Got
fine.
it. And we're jumping in on a couple other questions Carl had, but it was great to see everybody
Yep.
on that. And we've got resources. So absolutely, like what Mick said, busy February, exciting March, and we are off and going.
Yep.
So appreciate everybody's patience on that.
And with that, I'll say peace. You guys all take care. Again, if you need something, please reach out.
They
Thanks
say
again,
in German.
Nick.
Just
Thanks, Jimmy,
this guy.
for the nice looking bug.
Yep,
You
thanks.
bet.
And that was awesome.
But that's
Excellent.
to the
Take
dime.
care now.
Yep. Well done. Well done. Tight
Good
lines,
job.
all.
Love it.
Bye now.
Bye.
Later.
Good to see you again, Amy.
Later, Gator.
See you.